Justin Orenduff here, Baseball Rebellion, and we're going to go into step one of fixing the freak, which deals with the timing, the rhythm, and the tempo of the delivery. And we're going to start with Tim Lincecum here on the left, 2013 clip. Just wanted to make sure it was something recent because we're talking about the adjustments that he may have to make to further prolong his career to stay competitive and to stay at the top of his game. And so we're going to start by looking at Tim Lincecum and how he moves into his lift. Okay, so as he moves into his lift, he kind of starts his hands low and he pulls his knee really to almost his back shoulder. And as he does this, he rotates his entire torso, over rotating his shoulders and bringing his knee back towards center field. Okay, so this is his move as he starts to prepare to separate his hands and move into the pitch. And now what we want to do is compare the same movement of how the pitcher gets into his lift with Lincecum's predecessors, who have all pitched well into the 30s, potential Hall of Famers, and guys who were considered power pitchers early in their career, and as they continue to pitch, especially after 30, had to become more of command guys and rely on their mechanics to maintain efficiency and put up consistent results. So we're going to start here with Roger Clemens, and this is early in his career. And Clemens moves into his lifts by going overhead, and as he comes to the top, his hands come down and he meets in the middle. Okay, but the key thing is here, and I think what you'll see is most common here with the predecessors, is notice Clemens' shoulders are still right towards the target. Okay, he's not over rotated like Lincecum. You can see the differences in the knees and how the shoulders line up. The glove maintains in the center of the body, where Lincecum is towards his right hip. Okay, so now we're going to move into David Cone. Cone comes up, there's the top of his lift, his hands still maintained in the center of his body. Again here, shoulders are lined up towards the target, knees not over rotated, similar to Clemens. We'll move into the next predecessor, which would be Mike Mussina. Mussina goes in, brings the knee up, he almost kind of balls up, everything comes centered. Again, gloves in the center, knees at the top of the lift here. Once again, shoulders are lined up towards the target. Pedro Martinez. Let me move this over so we can see it a little better. Pedro, as he comes to the top here, his hands are a little bit higher but still within the center of his body. And again, his shoulders are lined up directly towards home plate. Here's Tom Seaver. He's another overhead guy, just like Clemens. Everything comes centered. Okay, high lift, hands are in the center again, shoulder angles aligned directly towards home plate. Definitely no over rotation. And our last is Curt Schilling. Everything comes centered, knees at the top, shoulders square. So the biggest thing I want you to take away from here is every single one of these guys here, they got to the position just a little bit differently, but as they came into the lift, generally the hands were at the center of the body and the shoulders remained square towards the target, where Lincecum's shoulders were over rotated, his hips were turned. Okay, and so there's a distinct difference here of how Lincecum moves into his pitch and how these guys move into their pitch. And honestly, the way that Lincecum moves into the pitch with this over rotation, you've already seen it's different from 2009, is just a wasted movement. He's not doing anything in here. He's not really loading his hips. There's no added benefit by over rotating early. So now we want to look at how the arm comes out of the glove. And to me, this is the most important deal, and this is what I call the arm swing. So Lincecum arm swings comes out, it remains very rigid, very long, kind of hangs out behind his right hip. He's not going anywhere as he's moving. Okay, so it's not fluid. Everything's not moving together. Okay, and this is part of his timing and rhythm. Sometimes when he over rotates, his hand will get stuck back here, and then he's got to make up for it quicker than he has to. So it leads to a lot of timing issues, and that's why he talks to, and he's so big on finding a good rhythm and timing before he goes out to the mound. And this is just a hard move initially to really kind of overcompensate and kind of move into from, because this leads to a lot of timing and rhythm issues just because you're over rotated, and then everything has got to be back in center, and you have to be absolutely perfect. Now we're going to go through these pretty quickly, but you can see as Clemens comes out here, very fluid, everything works together very, very nicely. Look how his hand is staying over the ball all the way until he kind of gets right into where his front foot hits. Let's go into David Cone. Now with Cone here, his arm action starts off the closest I could find to Lincecum. So if you really look at these positions, look similar, but what you can see from Cone, one, it's always moving together, and it gets right up into that good position as his body is moving. It doesn't hang out by his hips. Everything's moving together. Mussina, who has a very clean arm swing, here's how his arm moves out. Notice it's always moving, never gets behind his back. Everything kind of stays in the frontal plane of his body. Very good timing and rhythm here. And as he approaches foot strike, everything moves together. So very, very good example there. Pedro, low three-quarter guy, one of the best kind of arm actions, arm swings that I've seen. How everything stays fluid, very efficient. He's one that had the better commands here, the predecessors that we're talking about. Very, very good there. Seaver, same thing. Everything moving together as one piece. And lastly, Curt Schilling, very short and efficient. As he got older in his career, you say probably the shortest of the arm actions here. Very fluid, everything working together. And the same thing is here. All these guys' arm swings went with the body, and the timing became absolutely ideal as the front foot hits.